Hello there folks and welcome to part 15 of our Ashes Cricket 2009 playthrough, and today we start the third test. You'll be glad to hear that we did win the last test match, the second test, quite comprehensively by an innings and 67 runs. That compared to quite an abysmal test match really beforehand, where Australia won by 5 wickets. But what categorised both games was a really poor first innings from whichever side went into bat. Now we've won both tosses so far. We went into bat the first time, it didn't work, but we bowled the second time, and honestly I think it is still that first innings that won us that test. That of course, and the fantastic 194 put on by Paul Collingwood to really give us that advantage we needed to win the match by an innings and 67 runs. But now we move into the third test of the series. We haven't made any changes, don't see the point in making any changes. The only change I've made in terms of the batting order, nothing significant, is that Ryan Sidebottom has moved up to number 9 after some great performances with the bat. The away squad, just the one change. Shane Watson comes in for Phil Hughes. Just a very interesting one. Shane Watson, of course, not involved in the second test in real life, but he was called up. Phil Hughes was dropped, and Shane Watson, the all-rounder, came in, and he's batting first. That'll be an interesting one to see. Fair to say, he's not the best batsman on the game. I mean, all the batsmen up to Mitchell Johnson are better than him, so we'll have to see how he gets on. We've been bowling for the last few episodes, so unless the conditions go ridiculously against us, and we win the toss, of course, I will be going into bat, because I can appreciate you guys don't want to see episode after episode after episode of bowling action. But a very good test match. We've definitely got the momentum in this series, and I'd say we're on top, but that looks very nice. We're going to Edgbaston for this third test. The one closest to home for me anyway. This is closest to my area. But 24 degrees, it's nice and clear. A lot sunnier than the other test matches have been so far. The other two have been quite overcast. Bear in mind, of course, the second test was all over within 2 days, so that's got to be a little bit of a shock, just a bit. For the Aussies, but a great return for us. As you can see, KP for PM is what some people are saying. He's not really played that brilliantly, had a few good innings, but I think Paul Collingwood and Ian Bell have been the stars, and it's certainly not going to be Strauss and Cook from those first 2 tests are going to be the stars. So we're going to go with heads this time. We've got the choice at the toss. Andrew Strauss, the captain, needs to put in a big performance in this test match, as well as Alistair Cook. Admittedly, there's not much option in terms of other batsmen to open. Let's just have a look. Australia have won the toss, and they are going to have a bat. So that was something that was out of our control. We couldn't do too much about that, and we will be bowling again today. So I apologise about that. I appreciate you probably want to do some batting, but as I've said, there's not really much we can do about that. Let's just hope we have a similar start to what we had in the last match. But oh no, sorry, they are fielding. Beg your pardon. I thought they were batting, but no, they're fielding, so we are batting, and that's great. I was looking forward to some batting, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So they did pick to field. The buttons confused me, so they are going to have a field, and we're going to have a bat. As I've said, Andrew Strauss, Alistair Cook really need a big performance here. It looks a lot sunnier, as I've said in the previous 2 test matches. You can just tell that. It looks glorious by the textures, and this game definitely won ahead of its time. It's 10 years old now. But it still looks pretty glorious, particularly with the sun, and it's something we don't particularly get here usually, but it's been decent this summer, so nobody can say we haven't had a summer, and that's the first runs on the board. Mitchell Johnson with a no ball the second time round. But I think I've got a lot more confident with the batting, so I'm hoping that Strauss and Cook won't get cheap here, because if they do, we've got a real problem. Again, the onus has been on 3, 4 and 5 to get the runs, which Bell, Peterson and Collingwood have all done in separate innings. But ultimately, these two have got to start getting some runs. They've only really had a sort of 10 or 20 partnership between them, which isn't really good enough. There's always that sort of temperament and tradition, if you like, in those first few overs, just to defend them out, get comfortable in the crease, where really the other batsmen don't do that. But it's just my tradition, just to get a few overs comfortable in the crease, and then start having a whack. Because as you've seen, there's nothing worse than dropping an early wicket. End of the day, Australia did plenty of that in their first innings, and in the first 2 matches, the first innings hasn't been the best display from either side, so we will try and avenge that in today's episode. We're looking for about 250 or 300 from the first innings, I think. 250 would be a good amount, but that's just outside the off stump, a long way outside the off stump. We're going to go for this, and that are the first runs of Andrew Strauss's day. It's not going to be an out, I don't think. They're appealing a bit stupidly for that. That's a great camera angle, but I don't know what the fielder's doing there. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Shane Watson, because he's not played well in this series so far, but as you can see, we're well in the crease. No point even looking at that, and Andrew Strauss is off the mark, and he will keep the strike going into the second over, but we saw an opportunity to get him off the mark, So, despite the fact that Cook's going to have to wait at the non-striker's end a little bit longer, it is Strauss that is back into the crease. Oh, bit of an inside edge. We went for it a little bit there. Ben Hilfenhaus partnering Mitchell Johnson for the first attack. He keeps his place. A good test for him, particularly in terms of batting. When his side had a particularly poor batting performance, he was one of the batsmen who had a really good performance. Well, considering how his potential with the bat. I think he put 40s on every innings. And we were struggling to get him and Nathan Horitz out in the last innings to win the match. But we finally did. There was no doubt about us winning that match. It was just all about a little bit of a when not if situation. We'd love to dominate the match like this here, but I don't think we will. I think the Aussies will be revitalised. That's not the best shot, but we will go for a few runs here. We'll go for 2 because we can get them. Again, Cook not quite on strike yet. There's nothing prejudicial about Cook or discriminative about Cook. It's just the fact that, well, we can score 2 runs. We might as well go for it. Cook will get his chance. And after 10 balls, Strauss steadily off the mark. That's another good shot from Strauss. And we'll just go for the single there. So Cook will get to face at least one delivery here. Well, that was a pretty good direct hit, to be fair, from there. But unfortunately for the fielder, Andrew Strauss exactly in the non-striker's end. So it's going to be Cook's first ball. One we're just going to have to be silly to have a swing at it in the first ball. And both batsmen have faced a ball. 5 runs off 2 overs. Nothing fancy. But we've only had 2 attacking shots so far. Strauss has scored the runs from them. And Mitchell Johnson back in now to Straussy. Not really many fields on that offside, so we can take a risk and hit it there, but this is a long way out the offside, so we're just going to defend this. Again, I don't blame them in the first few overs, taking the tactic exactly like we did in the first innings when we bowled to them. Just trying to bowl just outside the off stump and tempt them to bat a little bit of an attacking, swinging shot, and all of a sudden they lose a few wickets. So we're going to try and not give in to that sort of temptation here, play the good balls, and yeah, let's see how we get on. But it's nice to be batting for once, it really is. Because for a good 2 or 3 episodes now, we've just been bowling. That's how long it took to get the Aussies out, ultimately. We did bowl pretty much all of that innings. That's the only innings we bowled all of, and that won't be the tradition, really. It's just because we were so close to winning the match that I bowled so much. I don't mind the bowling, because I know we can get wickets, but particularly that period between getting the 7th and 8th wicket, I think it was about half an hour, and it was quite tedious, to be honest, waiting for that wicket to come. But we're going to have a go at this one. That's a nice shot from Strauss, straight along the ground, and that is the first boundary. As I've said, just defend, wait for a little bit of a better ball to come. It was slightly closer to the bat, so we could swing at it a bit. A lovely stroke from Strauss along the ground, and that is a great 4, the first 4 of the match. And this is a bouncer, so we're going to go for this one as well, to the leg side. That's exactly what we'll do. Can we get 2 boundaries here? Looks like we will. A bit of a mind-boggling bouncer, really, from Mitchell Johnson. Bouncers work sometimes a variation, but to be honest, in this game, you can just swing at them, and that applies to the batting team when Australia bats as well. We don't bowl bouncers for that exact reason. They just exploit you from bouncers. The only way you're really going to get a batsman out is if they play a horrible bouncer, or if they get out through a full length. So 13 runs off the first 3 overs, very solid after 11 minutes. Andrew Strauss getting all of them, apart from that no ball that was bowled. And Alistair Cook's going to get his chance now. Let's have a bit of a bat, and it's Ben Hilfenhaus back on strike. Oh, back on strike. I don't know what I said back on strike for. Ben Hilfenhaus back bowling. Back on strike. Deary me. I'd be fired as a commentator straight away. But as you're watching this, you might be watching this Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm recording this on Tuesday morning. And tomorrow, of course, it is the start of the 4th 2019 Ashes Test. After that brilliant Ben Stokes century. It feels like quite a long time ago, that does now. It was 10 days ago, I suppose. And I suppose it feels a long time ago because the 2nd and 3rd tests weren't really far apart. So having that bit of a break makes things a little bit confusing. But a bit of news from the England camp that Joe Denley will be taking that opening spot. I agree with that. Jason Roy back down to number 4, I believe. Still not happy that Root's having to bat at 3 because he's not comfortable there. That's so obvious. So... well, they're going to have to find a number 3. I thought they might bring Jason Roy back to number 3. But really, if he bats anything like he has so far, Root's going to be an effective number 3 anyway, because we're going to lose the wicket of Jason Roy pretty quickly. Some people suggesting we ought to bring in Ben Stokes to number 3. I don't think so. Leave him where he is. If I was going to suggest anybody, I'd suggest Chris Woakes to number 3. He can bat as good as anybody. And I think he could put a good strike on. But that's the over gone. 4 overs gone. I made an over for Hilfenhaus, now just defending out. And Alistair Cook, I just feel, hadn't really got the confidence there. A few inside edges. And of course, if we'd applied them a bit more attackingly, then the consequence would have been bigger. But another bouncer here. Again, going to try and exploit this. And it's a no ball. So we can get away with having 2 here. Going for 2 runs. And to be fair, that's going to be close. He's out. Alistair Cook's gone for a duck. That was a little bit silly, given that it wasn't really much of a good ball. I mean, I said you can't get anyone out through a bouncer. I suppose you can. But we were a little bit greedy there, a little bit of a poor stroke. Thought we could squeeze it for 2, but it was plainly obvious as soon as Mitchell Johnson got this back to the non-striker's end that Alistair Cook was going to have a right struggle to get there. And through no fault of his own this time, really, Alistair Cook has gone for a duck. And we have lost within 4 overs an early wicket, but we've got the solid hand now of Ian Bell. Ian Bell and Strauss, let's see if we can build up the partnership with them. We'll have to be a little bit defensive now, given that we have lost that wicket. But we're not going to be deterred by playing a bounce, so we can play it and just not run. But that's a much better go at the bounce there. And we will get 2 this time. I'm fairly confident about that. So that's Andrew Strauss, the captain, putting in a bit of a captain's performance at the start. A nice aggressive start to show that he's not worried about his form so far. Really, the best thing he can do is just go and smash a ton. But again, a little bit of a shame that Alistair Cook's gone, but sometimes that's something you can't do much about. Again, another good shot. Don't know why they're playing these bouncers, but every time they play one, we're going to make sure that we take them. Another 2 there. Could have gone for 3 if we were being really aggressive, but given we've just lost a wicket, that would be, well, stupid, I think, is for the want of a better word. But this test match, well, this test match in this game, and the one in real life, are going to be really interesting. Another bouncer again. Don't know why they're keep bowling this, because we just keep exploiting it, but we're not going to question it. Again, probably go for 3 this time. I think we'll get there this time. Let's have a look at how quick this is. I mean, it wasn't far off, but another 3 there, and Ian Bell will face his first ball here. Again, no fielders to the leg side, and another bounce here from Mitchell Johnson, baffled. And we'll take that in the air, and that should get to the boundary. A little bit more pace on that. And Ian Bell off the mark already. Again, just saying, stop bowling the bouncers. It's silly. We might as well exploit them for the bounce. I know we got out early, but that's a bit of a freak thing. Once in 100 balls, really. So we can't be deterred from playing the bounce. Again, another bouncer coming up here. And that's a great shot. No need to run on that, because that's going to go straight to the boundary. And Mitchell Johnson, with all these bounces, he's been exploited terribly here. Again, surely the AI would think by now. Ah, right, they're scoring runs. Let's have a bit of a full ball. Try and get them off a little bit and confuse them, but that's going to be a bit of a fuller ball, so we'll just defend this one. Very good over from us there. 5 overs gone, 30 for 1. But just to talk a little bit about the test match in real life, it will be interesting, definitely, to see how we get on. I mean, it was a freak result that we beat Australia, that's no doubt about it, particularly after that terrible first innings we had of 67, I think it was now, from memory. So, it took a miracle. It really did take a miracle from Ben Stokes, hence why there was all the newspaper reports about it, because it genuinely was a miracle. But this is a really short ball. Confusing, to say the least. But that's a poor shot. Oh, doesn't carry, thank God for that. Didn't want to lose the wicket to Strauss. But I still think Australia have got the control in real life. I don't think that we can exert any control. The only player who played well, really, was... And that could be a chance. Oh dear, he's been dropped again. We need to be careful with those attacking shots. Doesn't seem to be quite going right at the moment, so we might have to defend a few here just to get back into the swing of things. But a bit of a peculiar choice, really, to put Jason Roy at P4, in my opinion. That's a good shot, though. That'll go nicely down the offside. Might get to the boundary. Or is it going to stop? Yeah, it's going to get to the boundary. Good shot. First runs off this Hilfenhaus over. Good strong bat in there. I just don't get why they've put Jason Roy at number 4, though, to be honest. Is it number 4 he's going to? Yeah, it is number 4. Jason Roy going to number 4 and Joe Root at 3. Again, I'd want Joe Root at 4, really. That's where he bats, and that's the best place for him, but for some reason they can't seem to decide whether they want a definitive 3, and number 3 is one of the biggest roles in a test squad. Okay, it's the number 4s of Steve Smith and Joe Root that are shining at the moment in terms of their captaincies, but Joe Root not so much. But Steve Smith coming back, that'll be a big problem for us. Can we beat the Aussies with Steve Smith? It's a question. But Pete Siddle coming in already because Mitchell Johnson are really stinking over, and he's bowling exactly the same balls as Mitchell was. So baffling there why he's coming to bowl, if he's just going to bowl exactly the same as what Mitchell is. But 2 runs to get the over started. Ian Bell now into the teens and Strauss on 24. So after 6 overs, a very strong start with a run rate nearly at 6. Again, perfect ball with a bouncer, particularly to the offside. You've got all day. And I don't know why they keep bowling these. We'd have probably only got half of what we got at the moment if they'd have bowled full length balls. But there's not much risk from a bouncer. Again, another shorter length ball. We're going to try and exploit this. Bit of a poor shot! Well, come on. Greedy, greedy, greedy. This is getting a little bit like the Aussies were. The problem with the Aussies last time out, in their first innings anyway, was that they were swinging at too many things, and we got the opportunities, and Ian Bell's gone. That's not really good enough. Right, we can't be stupid now. We can't take every opportunity, because Ian Bell's gone and Alistair Cook's gone. They're 2 pretty big wickets, so we can't be swinging at everything, particularly lofting the ball anyway. That's a little bit stupid. I acknowledge that now, but an outside edge. But let's just keep calm, a little bit calmer, I think. If we can get to 50 by the end of 10 overs, at the end of the day, we're fine. It's a good shot, though. Very good shot from the bounce. That'll be a boundary. I mean, we're scoring quickly here, but if we keep dropping wickets, it's kind of against the point. That was a little bit like Australia were in their first innings of the second Test match. They were scoring quickly, but if you're not in for a long duration, then it doesn't really matter. Again, another good shot. Not quite going to get to the boundary this time, so we'll just take the single. Get the more experienced Strauss back on strike. Been a real leader so far. Looked very comfortable in that crease with 7 overs gone.
Just 1 run. And the end of the over.
So 43 for 2. Disappointed to see Bell and Cook gone. I mean, Cook didn't really get a chance, but Bell, it was his own doing, really. Andrew Strauss on 29 off 31. Very strong start for him. And he's back on strike for this Ben Hilfenhaus over now. The 8th over of the match. Our bowling's not a problem, though, in real life, I don't think. I think we got Archer, Broad. Craig Overton's been brought in as a sub, but he won't be picked for the actual squad, I can't imagine. So it'll be Broad, Archer, Wokes and Stokes, of course. I mean, that's a brilliant brilliant shot there. Not particularly sure why they tempted us with the leg side ball there, but we're going to go for 2. That's exactly what we get. Again, Andrew Strauss, much better than his previous 2 opening innings. Or previous 3, I suppose. We've only had 3 innings so far, of course, because we did win by an innings in that second Test match. Not that Strauss and Cook had much part. Neither has Cook had much part in this one, so he might as well have just stayed at home for the moment. So who have we got? We got Broad, Archer, Stokes and Wokes. It's a pretty good bowling attack. Got the spinner, of course, as Jack Leach as well. Where are we headed to this time? Had Headingley, we've had Edgbaston, we've had Lords. I know the last one's at the Oval. I can't remember where we are. Might be, actually, I think is it Old Trafford potentially? Could be Old Trafford. Yeah, because the 3rd test was at Headingley, wasn't it? But that's a no ball from Hilfenhaus. We're going towards 50 now. This is attempt for the offside. My heart's telling me to go for this, but my brain's just saying don't. We've lost 2 wickets already. The Aussies want us to lose another wicket. Very strong run rate, but again, the headline, and well, the highlight for the Australians, I suppose, and the headline being that it's 2 wickets down for them, which is a great start for them. Kevin Peterson at the crease now. I think we'll just do the 10 overs today. Decent shot from Peterson. As I said, we just need to get our eye in. If we can get to 50 at the end of 10 overs, that's 5 and over, a strong start for us. A little bit disappointed about losing the 2 wickets, but it happens sometimes. But at least we've got a bit of depth in this squad and the batsmen to come. We've still got Collingwood, Flintoff, Pryor, Broad. I mean, they're all capable. They certainly have all been capable. Even Sidebottom and Anderson putting on some good 50 partnerships in 2 innings, I think, now. So, just highlights that we can bowl deep, bat deep, which doesn't really happen in real life, even though they say we can. I suppose we can always also bowl deep as well. Kevin Peterson, of course, taking 2 Aussie wickets in that last match. A little bit of a poor shot, but Peterson will get off the mark with a single here. So no duck for him, that's great to see. And Strauss back on strike for the last 2 of the over. But as I've said before, what Strauss needs is a ton here, I'd say. At least a 50. We've got to take it slow and take it how it comes. But I'd say that that Strauss needs at least a 50 here, just to cement his place as an opener. Because Strauss and Cook have been pretty poor this series so far. And at least if Strauss can have a good innings, then we've only got the problem with one player then. Which is much better than a problem with both. But at the end of the 9th over, you can tell we've slowed down a little bit. Not so much in the way of bounce has been bowled now. That's really what has happened. But 34 minutes gone. 9 overs gone. They're bowling pretty quickly here, to be fair. It's usually about 10 or 11 overs an hour. That's usually what happens. But 34 minutes gone with 9 overs. So what's that? An over sort of every about 3.5 minutes you're looking at. Which again is pretty good. But the last over of the day, in terms of this episode. And that's just an inside edge to get it started. It is Peterson on strike, I think, here, isn't it? Yes, it is. So, we can defend out this over if we need to. There's not much problem with that. Again, it's test cricket. It's not one-day cricket. We haven't got to get to anything in 50 overs. We can bat all day if we want to, which seems to be a tradition that none of these teams have particularly followed so far. But that's a decent shot. Oh, I panicked there. I thought it had been caught by the fielder. But nonetheless, it's gone to the boundary. Nice shot there. Loving it. And that's Peterson's first boundary. We do hit that 50. So we'll have at least 5 runs off the 10 overs, which is great. But again, 2 wickets, but we can't let that dampen our spirits. Let's make sure we just increase the number of runs scored per wicket, really.
No run there.
But a good start for us, certainly better than Australia's starts to their first innings in the second match. They were about 50 for 5, 50 for 6, weren't they? Could you imagine us at this point being at that? That wouldn't be nice at all. But 1 ball to go, we're 51 for 2 at the moment. Peterson on 5, Strauss starting very well on 31. But we have lost the influential men of Cook and...
Ball just runs out. He's got him.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That carry, goodness me. Oh, I've missed the replay. Apologies about that, but wow. Well, I really wasn't expecting that. Drove that one down the ground. Didn't really seem to be a problem. Control disconnected as per. And Peterson now gone. Well, that's really dampened our spirits. And after 10 overs, Collingwood is already in. We've got a little bit of a crisis on our hands then. I think we need to stop batting so aggressively, to be honest. That is what losing us the wickets. So a 51 for 3 after 10 overs, which isn't the best start at all. Cook, Bell and Peterson all gone for fairly mediocre scores. Strauss getting off to a good start, but we need some big innings really from Strauss, Collingwood and Flintoff, or else it's going to be the sort of bland and pointless first innings that the other ones have been really. But I hope you guys have enjoyed that nonetheless. I'll be back on Thursday. Friday. I need to get used to this new schedule. I'll be back on Friday for the second part of this first innings. We'll probably simulate forward to about, say, 30 overs in. I don't want to particularly be batting and bowling every single ball of these matches. It's just impossible to do that unless we do like a 100 episode series, which I don't particularly want to do. But yeah, I'll be back on Friday. We'll probably be about 20 overs further into the match, so a little bit of progression done, and you'll have to see how we get on from there. But thank you very much for your company. I've been TIJ Gamer. Until the next time, I will see you guys later on. Goodbye for now.